you ever asked yourself what would happen if all the people in the world would quit red meat tomorrow morning? It is hard to state with full confidence, but very likely we would see a rapid zeroing of red meat production. In fact, in most of the cases, our economy acts with a demand-driven behavior. And that is also one of the main assumptions behind the models that are adopted when performing impact assessment. But let's go back to the red meat supply chain. Having a drop in the demand, we would also experience the avoidance of direct and indirect effects of all the activities required to bring you a slice of meat on your table. In these processes, fuels are burned for transportation. Water is provided to cereals that are used to feed the animals that also digest, emitting methane, a greenhouse gas like CO2. Performing an analysis like this one requires a so-called life cycle approach, able to grasp impacts by supply chain stages. Overall impact of final consumption activities may be quantified based on two opposite paradigms. Production-based accounting quantifies direct impact caused by each stage of the supply chain to deliver meat products to final consumers. On the other hand, consumption-based accounting quantifies direct and indirect impact caused by a particular product delivered as final demand, allocating impact to it. In both accounting approaches, the impacts are the same. The only difference is on who is carrying the burden for those impacts, respectively producers and consumers. To better understand this, consider this chart showing production and consumption-based emission of CO2 from the major economies in the planet. The allocation can change slightly if you consider a production-based or a consumption-based approach. To prove this, have a look at their differences for the European Union and for China. In Europe, production-based emissions or territorial emissions are significantly lower than consumption-based ones, since many products consumed by European citizens are actually produced in foreign regions like China. But as you may imagine, computing and allocating environmental impact on production and consumption activities is not that easy. Detailed and comprehensive supply chain models are indeed necessary. In fact, we have at least two dimensions of uncertainty when carrying out this kind of analysis. The first one is represented by data uncertainty. Usually, this analysis relies on complex and not always up-to-date databases, depicting the interconnections between economic activities with a certain degree of detail. The second one is model uncertainty, related to the adopted methodology. In fact, allocating impacts between different products requires an allocation procedure that may be debatable but epistemically needed. For example, take cattle breeding that we previously considered. What if the animal also produced milk that was partially used to produce cheese? How would this be considered in the allocation procedure that we wanted to perform on red meat? Always, an hypothesis for that must be considered and explicitly reported in the study, but this will be clearer in next chapters.